ethical, authentic, sports, entertainment, something for the old, something for the new, something for everybody in between. We leave nothing untouched. We are Spin 107.5 FM.
Yeah, super. Yeah. Nothing street. Iya mga ilo.
Então,
Okay. My email is lib slanger. You know how to spell my last name? You hear me? lib slanger at gmail.com. Yeah. You switch it live for me.
okay, folks, wherever it is you're listening to us from, it's a beautiful Monday afternoon here in Refuting and Clarification Liberia. Yes, I said it. Refuting and Clarification Liberia. Talking about Claire, the weather forecast from BBC Weather says that indeed it's a sunny day with gentle breeze, to be precise, with temperatures in Liberia forecast to be at 31 degrees Celsius as the highest and 23 degrees Celsius as the lowest. With that being said, the heat isn't for fun, and we're still dealing with load shedding, and which has now become a perennial issue here in Liberia. We're working on modalities to bring on the acting or the interim managing director of the Liberia Electricity Corporation to speak to us as well. We're working on modalities to bring him on the program so that he speaks to Liberians about what is trending there at the LEC. But as it stands, as soon as you see current, you have to do the essential things. Either press your clothes, charge your phone, or you do whatever you have to do to make use of the electricity once it shows face. Well, my name is Diamond Slanger. I'd love to welcome you to today's edition of The Pulse. This is the Spoon Network's afternoon talk show. This show deals with everything Liberia. We will be on tomorrow playing host to the leaders of the campaigners against misinformation and disinformation in Liberia. They will be joining us on the show on tomorrow. So it's not just political issues we talk about here on this program, but we'll be bringing on seasoned professionals in all aspects and from all spheres of society to speak to issues here in this country, not just to inform us, but to educate us as well. So if you're just joining us, you're welcome. We just started. For those of you listening to us all across Liberia, via the radio stations that are relaying us and our flagship stations as well, Spoon FM and Fabric FM, would love to say welcome to you. There's a reason I called Liberia Refuting and Clarification Liberia. If you notice, if you've been following the trend of information and events in our country, government institutions have been refuting and clarifying. One claim to the other, one claim to the next, one claim to the next. And the fact that there are even accusations out there and claims out there that is now leading to clarification and distancing and refuting speaks to the fact that Liberians want to be informed, Liberians want accountability, Liberians are yearning for transparency, and of course, a rigorous fight against corruption in our country. So we'll be talking about the refuting and clarification coming from the National Oil Company of Liberia, NOCAL. They issued a statement on the whole rope, or whole bush kind of thing involving the suspended president CEO, Madam Rosalind Swakoko Dennis, and her principal deputies. Well, we have pictures to show to you that the NOCAL vice presidents were at the LACC. They were called to go and answer questions and aid the investigators in what they know about purchasing of vehicles, contracts issuance, and everything else in between that led to the suspension of the president CEO of NOCAL, Madam Rosalind Swakoko Dennis. As to who's involved, how involved, and everything else, the LACC is conducting its investigation, and those who have got information, especially NOCAL vice presidents, were at the LACC earlier today. So I'll just show you some pictures that we were able to get when they were arriving at the LACC. However, the National Oil Company has issued a statement clarifying the purchasing of vehicles by its VPs, the price tag of those vehicles, and the rest. But these are pictures, of the vice president of NOCAL heading into the compound of the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission in their Kia SUVs. We'll talk about that later. And talking about NOCAL, the vice president for administration at NOCAL, Boyka Jaliba, is going to join us on the show at 4 p.m. We will be quizzing him concerning everything surrounding the saga there at NOCAL, what has been the involvement of the vice president there and the board of directors and everything else. We want to know. We want to know. And Liberians can also attest that they do want to know everything surrounding this NOCAL investigation. So Mr. Boykai Jaliba, Vice President for Administration at NOCAL, is going to be our guest at 4 p.m. on the pulse. Remember to start playing the radio game as we going through all of our questioning and providing you the information. We're also here to provide you with some cash. And as I started on last week, we will continue to call winners, frequent winners, and those who will be drawing, to give them their money live on the radio. So all you need to do is to dial *799 *3#, *799 *3#. Play with just 100 Liberian dollars if you're using your Liberian dollars wallet, or that's 70 cents if you're using your United States dollars wallet to play as well. You stand a chance of winning 4,000 Liberian dollars on the spot if you play and you're drawn as the winner. So start playing. Don't say, oh, you don't tell me, and last minute of time you start rushing to play. Remember, the more you play, the better your chances of winning. What else do we have to discuss here on the show this afternoon? The capital arson case has taken another turn. The circuit court judge ruled that the evidence provided by the prosecution can be adduced in court, thereby declining or turning down or refusing the defense prayer that the evidence should not be admissible. The defense request for the evidence presented by the prosecution to be suppressed. So by the ruling of the circuit court judge, the defense now, the prosecution now, which is the state, can now use those evidence or pieces of evidence gathered during the proper trial of the capital arson case. But the defense team has said, look, we're not going to rest there. We don't want this evidence to be used in this case. We have issues with how the evidence was collected, and the evidence cannot be trusted. So they've now gone to the Supreme Court of Liberia. Melvin Jackson, who is our judicial correspondent, will join us on the show, and we'll talk about the latest development in the capital arson case. Yes, regime speaker. Did Richard Nangbe-Kun make an honest statement? Did he speak in earnesty to whether or not we have separation of powers being practiced in Liberia as enshrined in the Constitution? Are the three branches of government truly separated, independent, but work in unison? Do we have an independent legislature? Of course, an independent judiciary. Do we? And who in the history of Liberia, post-war Liberia, if you can recall, has been a speaker of the people, by the people, and for the people? Who hasn't been a regime speaker? We will be discussing that. We'll be analyzing that. We'll be bringing to the table all of what has been happening, and if truly we've had regime speakers post-war Liberia, and why there is a need to have an independent speaker. But the key question is, why haven't we had an independent legislature and an independent speaker, but rather we have had regime speakers? We'll talk about that on the show as well as we progress on. And we'll be discussing our investigative findings into the Momo David saga, the claims of alleged torture and maltreatment. And also we'll be sharing with you for the first time key pieces of evidence that we have unearthed in our investigation surrounding the release of the son of Representative Musa Hassan Bility, Peach Bility. And we'll be reading for you some portion of the drug law of Liberia, and we're still carrying on that investigation, which is difficult to find as to how he got freed from the Monrovia Central Prison. There's been an argument as to whether, non-billable means non-billable in itself, or non-billable means that, what does non-billable mean legally? What does it mean? We've been speaking to lawyers, trying to get information, and today we'll share with you for the first time key pieces of evidence that our investigation has unearthed as well. So we have a whole loaded show for you, but not to forget, we will continue our series on the domestic relations law of Liberia that we began last week. Where we stop, we'll pick up from there. So this is The Pulse. My name is Diamond Slanger. Time here in Liberia is 15 minutes after 3 p.m. If you're just joining us, you're definitely welcome. Remember, what you need to do is to dial *799*3#. *799*3#. If you are a subscriber of Lone Star Cell or MTN, all you need to do is to dial *799*3# with at least $100 Liberian dollars minimum. You can play, and it's $100 to play. So play as many times as possible so that you can stand a chance of winning 4,000 Liberian dollars. We'll connect with Melvin Jackson now, who is our judicial correspondent, to go straight into the latest development surrounding the capital arson saga. Let's cross over now to the Temple of Justice, where Melvin Jackson is our man, and he will give us the latest updates concerning that particular matter. From that, we'll call our first winner. I'm going to draw somebody who's going to be called later on to tell us if they've received their money. And you also can be one of those lucky persons today by playing the radio game. So we're trying to get in contact with our judicial correspondent, Melvin Jackson, to bring us up to speed with the latest surrounding the capital arson case. If we do not get Melvin, we'll skip to something else and we'll reconnect with him during the course of the program. So, okay, seemingly we're not getting Melvin Jackson. So what's next on our agenda? Yes, that we have lined up. All right. So I'll play this video and we will discuss. And the question is for the audience and everybody. It's food for thought and why we need to make a change in this country if we truly want to see genuine changes in our country. So we start with this particular one.
The opposition speaker will not push our agenda. We need to have our own speaker. So today I'm a regime speaker. The speaker of the Republic of Nigeria is 100% supporting His Excellency Joseph Momo David. No speaker from the opposition will promote us. So we as politicians sat and saw the difficult thing the general arrest or proceeding. The general was suppressed an opposition speaker. We will not sit there and let go any further. All the things we plan to do, we all get damage.
You listen to Richard Nangbe Kun, who is the Speaker of the House of Representatives. The fact that he's been recognized by the executive. He presided over the State of the Nation. He presided over the opening of the second session of the 55th legislature. He's occupying the parking space or the parking lot meant for speaker. He is using the license plate RAP1, and he and his Committee on Ways, Means and Finance and other subcommittees presided over the budget, the draft budget hearings, approved the budget, had concurrence from the Senate, subsequently submitted to the office of the president, and all of that. I'm just laying the premise. Over the weekend, he was meeting with his constituents, District number 11, where he made the statement that he is a regime speaker and that the opposition speaker in now embattled Speaker J. Fanati Kofa was holding back and suppressing the arrest agenda of the Unity Party. Remember, Richard Kun contested the speakership position and lost to Fanati Kofa by less than double digits. And J. Fanati Kofa presided as speaker for the passage of the first budget under the Joseph Barker-led government. And the rest, we all do know the story. But there's been a debate concerning the statement made by Richard Nangbe Kun, for which he came up to provide a clarity. And that's why I said welcome from clarification and refuting Liberia. Because for the past number of days now, we've had a lot of refuting and clarifying coming. So this is his statement on his official Facebook page. It reads, "It has come to our attention that the recent comments made by Speaker Richard Kun have been deliberately misinterpreted or misrepresented to fuel political division and create public panic. Speaker Kun's statement that he is a regime speaker was not on a mission of bias or blind allegiance. He recognizes the fundamental role of the legislature in ensuring smooth governance and national progress." The speaker remarks were made in context of the arrest agenda, which is our national development framework that requires collaboration between all branches of government. As a responsible Speaker of the House, he must work with the administration to pass laws, approve the national budgets, and facilitate policies implementation that benefit the people of Liberia. That is exactly what Speaker Kun meant when he emphasized the need for cooperation with the executive and other government counterparts. We urge the public to focus on facts and not be misled by those who thrive on division. That is the clarification statement coming from Richard Nangbe Kun. But our topic, our main focus is, with all this clarifying and everything coming up, was it an honest statement made by Richard Kun? Did he speak from his heart as to what was the real reason behind the ousting of J. Fanati Kofa? That Kofa was deemed as an opposition who was suppressing the arrest agenda and needed to be ousted by all and whatever means to pave the way for a regime speaker. Who is a regime speaker? Is it by the party of affiliation that you are deemed a regime speaker? Or you collaborate with the executive in making sure everything works? But let's go back in history and ask ourselves, why have we had only regime speakers? Why have we had only regime speakers? Edwin Snow, Alex Tyler, Emmanuel Nukwe, Buffer Chambers, J. Fanati Kofa, Richard Nangbe Kun. All those names that I mentioned, for those who enjoyed peace and tranquility and presided without known incidences, were those who were licking the heels of the executive. Buffer Chambers, a known critic, very vocal critic of the Ellen regime, became Speaker of the 54th and was never heard from. Buffer only had one constituent in the House of Representatives. He only needed the support of one person. And that particular person was not even in the legislature, but sat in the executive as head of the Republic of Liberia. And that one constituent he needed was the president. We are supposed to operate three separate and independent branches of government. Edwin Melvin Snow, when he didn't enjoy the confidence of the president at the time, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, he was ousted. J. Alex Tyler, when he didn't enjoy the confidence of the president, even of his colleagues and the president, he was ousted. And when it comes to ousting a speaker, it is not about opposition, imposition, no position. Everybody who has got some vested interest will connive, collude, and execute. But who suffers when we always have regime speakers? It is you and I, as ordinary Liberians. It has become a culture that the executive is all powerful. The executive controls the purse. Even though the budget comes from the executive, goes to the legislature for deliberation, approval, and taken to the executive. Because the executive controls the expenditure, and majority of our leaders are self-centered, they move to the whims of the executive. And so on paper, we have separation of powers, but in reality, it doesn't work. You only see semblances of separation of powers when the legislature wants to flex its muscles. And most of the time, it is in the interest of negotiation. We've witnessed where the legislature has literally protected the executive and agents of the executive, because individual legislators and the bulk are always seeking their own interest. It's like the Cain and Abel scenario. The legislature that is supposed to be powerful, independently powerful and strong, has sold itself cheaply. And because of that, speakers must be regime speakers to survive. Did Richard Nangbe Kun speak the truth? And is it the truth that we now trying to divide into so many parts? How many times have you called on radio or you've listened to radio and Liberians complain about the legislature? If the legislature was not to be controlled by regime speakers, you will have critical decisions and critical voices always coming from the legislature. Why have we had only regime speakers? Why? I'm not sitting on this radio this afternoon and telling you a speaker should just be opposition to whatever that comes from the executive. No, I'm not saying that. The three branches of government should work separately, but also in unison. But to maintain the independence of each branch, they must hold their integrity and do their work with efficiency. When we look, somebody says, oh, you're allowed to compare Liberia with other countries. I'm a student of political science, and it's in political science, we do what is called comparative government and politics. You compare different political systems in different parts of the world, compare and contrast them, and see the advantages, the disadvantages, why it's working at this point, why isn't it working at this point, what can be done in your country to make yours better, and what system can you practice. And we as Liberia chose to practice the populist democracy that supports separation of power and checks and balances. Point to one speaker in post-era Liberia that has critically stood up and pushed the agenda of the Liberian people. Point to one speaker in post-Liberia, post-war Liberia, that has not been a regime speaker. And this needs to stop. When the legislature is deemed as weak and spineless and is controlled by the executive, and whoever in the legislature doesn't bend to the will and pleasure is ousted, the people do not get proper redress. For example, when a concessionaire is to come and answer questions before the legislature, that person goes behind and does their homework and come. You find out that the entire hearing is just like, a play thing. Can Congress, even not before the whole Congress, just a congressional hearing committee, when they invite you, that invitation alone That invitation alone can make your stomach to run. That is because they are independent. They elect people who are policy driven. These people are serving because they want to make an impact in the lives of their people and not in the interest of their pockets. They are critical in analyzing. We run a popular democracy, it's true. But if you just elect him because the man get line in your hair, in him son, the other man can bluff, the other woman, you know, she used to be there for us. We just electing people not based on competence. You send whole lot of people in the house. They cannot properly and independently, or even with the service or services of experts, scrutinize for you. It's my man. Letting we have to do it, because if we don't do it, you know, my man, you know, and what the executive wants. So we have to do it. We've witnessed in our country where companies, concessionaires, and the rest go to legislative hearings, and some of them even go a flying sheet of paper, because somebody somewhere has assured them that when you go, we will protect you. So the people go before our legislature unprepared. I mean, I think man, yeah, go. Yeah, somebody will raise some kind of motion, you lead a place, you know. Yeah, I mean, we'll do it that way. So because of that, our legislature, when it comes to oversight and implementation of the oversight, it is not critical. This my interest business. A speaker shouldn't halt and stop the development of the country because the government is one. But when you have a strong speaker who will be critical and not just a rubber-stamped speaker, the decisions that are made for the people will be in the interest of the people. When it gets before you, it gets before your committee knows that you are a thorough speaker, you scrutinize things, you bring in on experts to make sure the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, and whatever instrument comes before you is going to be properly and thoroughly scrutinized, not deals made in back rooms and all of these things. People tend to respect the legislature. Who hasn't been a regime speaker? Every president wants a regime speaker. You know why? Because the executive is aware that the legislature has got the power to make them act right. So every president wants a regime speaker. Why do you think every president wants a regime speaker? Because that position is powerful to make the right things to be done, and that position is powerful to make halfways to be done. The legislature ratifies international treaties and agreements, ratifies concessions, promulgates laws. Why you think you have all that power, but yet you must be a regime speaker to make it through? Because selfish interests from all over, individual interests from all over come into one, a system that has been molded over the years to favor few. So you have to be a regime speaker to sell your power, to bend over backwards, to be able to remain in that position. Why don't you have a critical speaker? A speaker for whom the executive can say, okay, you know, when we're sending anything down there, we have to make sure it's proper. Are you afraid of losing the over 2 million in terms of budgetary allotment to your office? If you are a critical speaker, not an opposition, there's a difference in being critical and in being an opposition. Sometimes those who are oppositions, they don't critically analyze things. They do it because they're from different side of the aisle, so they must stop this thing so that you don't look good. But a critical speaker will make sure that everything that comes before and leaves from the House of Representatives will be scrutinized, will be well put together, and that body will ooze of respect. Everybody want committee. Everybody want lucrative things. Everybody want interest. Everybody want this. So if you are the person who will play ball, you will be put there. And most likely than not, you are not a respected or powerful person. It is because others want to use you and your influence to get their way. Regime speakers. I'll play that one more time and we'll move to our other topics of discussion. And if you think from your own analysis that you want a regime speaker rather than a critical speaker, or you want an opposition speaker rather than a critical speaker, ask yourself this one question. What are the benefits of having either of the one of the three? A regime speaker, a critical speaker who will look at things from all angles and not be opposing, but oppose when it needs to be opposed, or an opposition speaker who will just oppose everything without scrutinizing it, which is very difficult in this modern political age and day, or a regime speaker who will just say, yeah, we'll protect you, we'll do everything, we'll just let you happy, and see where we've been so far with all of these regime speakers. We'll be back right after this.
The opposition speaker will not push our agenda. We need to have our own speaker. So today I'm a regime speaker. The speaker of the Republic of Nigeria is 100% supporting His Excellency Joseph Momo David. No speaker from the opposition will promote us. So we as politicians start and show the people of the general arrest or proceeding. The general was suppressed an opposition speaker. You do not sit there and let go any further. All the things we plan to do, we all get damaged.
All right, folks, welcome back. This is the Pulse here on Spoon 107.5 FM. We're live on Fabric 101.1. My name is Diamond Slanger. Wherever it is you're watching us from, you're welcome. Please continue playing the radio game. Don't stop there and don't play and say, I'm waiting for last minute of time, because if you do, well, and we leave the program, you are not going to stand a chance of winning. All right. So we want to see if we can reconnect with Melvin Jackson. As I said, at 4 p.m., we'll be playing host to Mr. Boykai Jaliba. He is the Vice President for Administration at the National Oil Company. Today, we did see Vice Presidents of NOCAL going to the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission, the LACC, to form part of the investigation. All right. So we will be speaking with him at 4 p.m. So our next talking point is something that caught the country by storm, and it shocked me, shocked a group of journalists, and that triggered us into action. So about a week ago, a video surfaced on social media of an accusation that a Liberian citizen was allegedly brutalized and tortured severely by a Chinese national. When I watched that video, I got sick to my core. And it kicked me and other journalists and I into action. That why will a Liberian or a human being, I don't want to even limit it to a Liberian, but why will a human being be treated in such a way? So we started our investigation. This investigation was carried out by a group of independent journalists from different media institutions, and it took us to many places to ascertain the truth. During the course of our investigation, and I'm going to share some of the findings with you, as the matter is currently in court, but we can release our investigative findings because it was independently done. And those in the court, when they battle out the prosecution and the defense, remember, it's a criminal case, it must be proven beyond all reasonable doubt. So from the allegation, this young man was allegedly brutalized, and from his own statement, kept in the fence of this Chinese national for 3 days before he was released, and was taken to the police station after 3 days. And later on, he absconded and sought treatment at the ERW hospital for 3 weeks. And the entire country became outraged. I'll play this video and I'll move into our findings. So, can you tell us what happened? What day?
Oh, the date it happened, I can't really remember the date. The date, I can't remember the date it happened.
Okay, but which month?
At the January show. Yeah, January.
What first week, second week? If you can't remember the day, but
Yeah.
First week, second week,
First
third
week.
fourth week.
First week.
First week.
Yeah, first week in January.
It was around what time? What time is it that you went to RC Lawson?
RC Lawson, it was in the morning.
What time?
In the morning around 12 going to 12. Around 12, yeah. Around 12.
Is your father work there?
Yeah, he worked there, he was brushing. I think he was on contract. He was brushing.
So your father was there, and your father took you, according to you, from RC Lawson,
Yeah.
and took you to the Chinese man.
Yeah.
It was your father that took you to the Chinese man before he allegedly married you.
Yes, my father was going Ibrahim.
Okay. So my question is, you say it happened around 12.
Yes.
Around 12 in the afternoon.
Yes.
Around what time you think? How long you think you were there?
So the position we're not ready to sit on there because no one can from the back.
I mean, the time you left from the bus to go to the police station, how long you think?
No ready, I wanna get time.
But you think it's still long?
Yeah, it's still long. Go up. I still long in the fence. In my God fence. I still long in the fence. Yeah.
Around 4 p.m., 3 p.m. Which was it in the afternoon, in the morning? Which hour did you leave the fence? Which time of the day? You can remember the hours.
We left the fence in the afternoon. Around 2 going to TD. Yes.
So my next question to you is, how many days before you went to the hospital?
How many days before they came to the hospital?
Yeah.
The same night. Yeah, the same day in the night. Then I went to get to the hospital.
Yeah. How long you are?
I spent 3 weeks at the hospital. Yeah, all 1 week and a half. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Before that, you had any issue with anybody that carried you to police station?
No.
So in a whole January before that thing, nobody carried you to police station with anything?
No, nobody came to the station. No comment.
Was this your first time getting involved?
No, not my first time.
All right, so that was an excerpt from the interview we conducted yesterday with Momo David, the alleged victim of torture and maltreatment, and critical questions were asked, because after watching that initial interview, we needed to ascertain the facts. The case is in court, as I said, but as investigative journalists, we go to all sides to be able to, there are different sides of a story, but in between all the sides, the facts are there. So according to the timeline that was given in that prior interview, the victim has said he was kept in a fence for 4 days. And later on, he was, taken to the police station where he absconded and later went to the hospital. So I made a visit at the police station. On Valentine's Day, we were called by the lawyer representing the Chinese National, Councillor Cephas, and he made some allegations or clarification. So we took those clarifications and decided to investigate to see if a Liberian citizen was brutally maltreated by another person, why it shouldn't be a light matter. When we gathered the information, the first inconsistency that we noticed or we were able to flag was the dates. This incident allegedly happened on the 13th of January. And suspect or victim, alleged victim David, was at the police station on the 12th of January for a separate incident where he had wounds. And here is the piece of the police report written in what is known as the occurrence book. The case number is 730125. And I'll read it from my phone because for those of you watching, it's not in the best position, but I'll read it from my phone. So it says occurrence book. And it's dated January 12th. It reads, on January 12, 2025, complainant Jakba, age 50 years, Trabasa, and resident of Congo Town Back Road, reported that on the 10th of January, suspect Momo David entered their compound and stole their cable wire, but he's at large. So this was the first complaint, and Momo was taken to the police station, referenced by this statement by one of the community leaders who signed to get him out of the police station. So he wasn't taken into the police station to be treated. Rather, when he was taken at the station after he was allegedly beaten by an angry crowd and he exhibited wounds, he was taken to the police station, and because of his condition, he was told to go and seek medical attention before the police can look into that matter. That was on the 12th. According to our investigation, again, on the 10th of January, Momo was reportedly beaten again by an angry crowd after being caught stealing wire in the Lone Star Tower. It was officially recorded in the Zone 3 occurrence book. That was what I spoke to. On the 11th of January, David again was assaulted, this time in a fence owned by one Sando Cooper on Congo Town Back Road. And we spoke to eyewitnesses who confirmed the beating and described his pattern of theft and mob justice. So it was the 10th, the 11th, and the 12th. It was on the 13th, according to police report, that Momo entered the fence of this Chinese national. and referenced by this police statement. The victim statement is there, and the police recorded everything. The time occurrence of the incident, 9:30 in the morning. Time of report, 10:30 a.m. in the morning. The reason I'm highlighting all of these is because everybody who's within the bailiwicks of the Republic of Liberia should be protected by our laws. When we spoke to Momo, he told us that the incident occurred, he couldn't remember the actual date, but it was the first week in January. But the incident actually occurred the 13th of January, which is not the first week. When we spoke to Momo and we asked him of the time the incident occurred, he said it occurred around 12:45 p.m. but said he entered the Chinese fence at RC Lawson at 9:30 a.m., meaning it took at least 3 hours for him to be transported from RC Lawson and taken behind the Chinese embassy, where he fled in a swamp, to be taken to the Chinese compound. The police report states that the incident happened at 9:30 a.m. and was reported at 10:30 a.m. So, giving 1 hour for Momo to have entered the compound at 9:30 a.m., be caught by the security, transported from RC Lawson behind the back road now to the Chinese fence, given money, transported to the police station, making up for the time. But Momo, in his official statement to the police, said it happened 12:45. Meanwhile, the case was reported at 10:30 a.m. So how can something that was reported at 10:30 a.m. happen at 12:45? Another big contradiction was the police statement that when the police interviewed Momo at the EAW hospital, that was on the 8th of February. But the statement was backdated to the 13th of January. What is the motive of backdating a statement that was taken on the 8th of February to the 13th of January? Why was it so crucial for whoever the investigator was to change the date of their interview with the victim from the 8th of February to the 13th of January to coincide with the incident? And when that issue was raised, and I'm showing you evidence, this is it, the police officer scratched the date and corrected the actual day that they had the interview with Momo. And this is the signature of the police officer who took Momo's statement at the EAW hospital. So why was it so important that the day of the interview would have been backdated? What's the motive? And the reason I'm so vested in this case, these are some of the things that happen that the state will always lose crucial cases. And when Liberians don't understand, they will say, oh, they compromised the case, they let a foreigner go, or they let a person go because, of money or whatever. This alone, to scratch this date and write the proper date you conducted an interview, it raises a lot of questions as to why was it important that you backdate a report. Why? When we spoke to Momo again as to whether he had prior run-ins with the law before this reported incident with the Chinese national, Momo said no. You listen to it in the interview. He said he had never been to the police station in January of 2024. He had no prior encounters at the police station. But there is a police record that he was there and he was wounded. He was asked to go and be treated. En route, he ran away. He went and allegedly committed another act. And according to eyewitnesses we spoke with yesterday, Momo had been beaten 4 times in a row. And whenever they do that, whenever he encounters that, he goes on to do the next. I am not saying that Momo doesn't deserve justice for whatever he's involved with. But why I'm so interested in this is we need to not feed the public sentimental information. Because when we feed the public sentimental information, it's one of the contributing factors to mob violence. I'm interested in this case because it also points out to lapses in our judicial, in our investigative system that leads to mob violence. One, is it the law that if a person is injured, they can be taken to the hospital by themselves if that person has been reported to the police? Is it the way? Secondly, when you report an offense to the police and the police tells you, say, oh, go treat a man and bring a man back or put a man in jail, but you can't be feeding a man, that is one of the other reasons that people do not want to take people to police station no more. Because the person will say, the man offended me, then I carry in the police station, then I go be feeding him again. So people tend to take the law into their own hands. But with these inconsistencies and red flags, it raises the question, if Momo, according to him in his first interview, he was kept in a fence for 3 days, but when we spoke with him, he said it was the very same day he was taken to the police station. The contradictions. If Momo gave his statement to the police on the 8th of February, 3 weeks, 28 days after the incident occurred, why did the police backdate the statement to the 13th of January? And why did they scratch the backdated time from there and wrote the actual date? What is the motive? Is Momo being used as a pawn in a bigger scenario to get at someone? Or even if the act was committed, these discrepancies and these questionable doings will compromise the case right there and then. And justice will not be served because of procedural errors. Another point that I asked was, if you were assaulted brutally as you claim, and the person or the people who assaulted you then decided that, oh, after assaulting this man brutally as it is, we will carry him to the police station and go report him, why didn't you tell the police that you were brutalized? Why didn't you tell the police that you were brutalized? Why did they let you go and say go seek treatment? Why didn't the police assign an officer to you and keep one of the alleged perpetrators or those who were involved and take you to the hospital and make sure you are treated? But they say, you'll kill the man and go treat him by yourself. There are things that need to be done so that Liberians can have belief and trust in our criminal justice system. We don't want this notion that people already have, that when you get people to the police station, nothing can come from inside. So we take the law into our own hands. We also do not want those who are coming into our country to do whatever investment would feel like they can be targeted and nothing will come from out of it. This case is in court, and we are following how this case is going to end. We're getting information that it is bigger than what it is, but I'm not interested in how big it is than what it is. We as a group of journalists are interested in establishing the facts. And so far, the facts seem a bit obscure. It's obscured. There are too many question marks. There are too many questions than answers. Thankfully, Momo is recuperating. We spoke with him. He is recovering. But the community for which he resides is not even happy. Community members were making plans yesterday. We want to do the investigation. They thought we were there to promote the act of thievery and the rest. We had to explain to them that we were not there for that. We were there to ascertain the fact. And it's my first time to ask a question about the character of a person, and there is nothing good that has been said. But it still doesn't warrant the fact that we should take the law into our own hands. But when we are labeling allegations and accusations against people, we must make sure that they add up. Amongst all of what we discovered, my main contention is, why was the day of the interview with Momo backdated? Why did the police officer who took Momo's statement, who interviewed Momo, backdate the statement? What was the motive? And if that is enough to hurt this case, if truly Momo is to be given justice, is that something that is going to hinder that? And do we need to take proper care and look at our criminal justice system and see where we can revamp, how we collect evidence, how we take statements, how we preserve crime scenes, how we go on to charging, and of all, how we protect witnesses and those who are whistleblowers. It's no hidden secret that people within communities are afraid to speak up against ills, for fear that even if you speak and this person is taken to the station, something will be done and that person will be released and that person might target you. So communities keep them within themselves, and when these things happen, they vent out their anger by unleashing mob violence. In as much as the police will tell us and tell communities that mob violence is not good, the police themselves need to make the citizens have trust in the system. And this is everybody's business. So to the police, we have to start looking at these cultures, these things that make citizens not to want to go to police station. Oh, you bring a man here, you have to be giving a man food. You bring a man here, you have to buy sheet, you have to transport a man. Oh, you brought a man here, you know you have to follow up on the case. You're not following up, so we have no other option but to release the man, because we can't find a complainant who will go to court and, you know, testify or to be the private prosecutors. It's everybody's business. As I said, we'll be following up on this case. It's in court, and we'll be following the proceedings as well as doing our independent investigations as to how all of this happened. And we've listened to all sides, but we are interested in the facts. So folks, we want to see if we can connect with Melvin Jackson. He is our judicial correspondent, to speak to the latest regarding the capital arson saga. We've been informed that the defense has now gone to the Supreme Court of Liberia as to why they're there. Melvin Jackson is going to give us updates. All right, so we have Melvin on the phone now. Good afternoon to you, Melvin. How are you?
Good afternoon, Damo, and good afternoon to our many listeners.
Okay. So Melvin, you sent in the update concerning the capital arson case. What's the latest development surrounding that particular case there at the Temple of Justice?
Yeah, so Damo, as we've been reporting, the magistrate court judge was expected to rule in this matter, and during the day of the final argument, the defense team filed a motion to suppress evidence and return personal property of the defendant. So on that basis, the judge ruled and dismissed that motion on ground that it was not timely, that they have sat in the court all the while and they did not file this motion. So on that basis, they cannot grant it. So being dissatisfied, and as part of the legal proceeding, the defense team took the magistrate and the prosecution team on a summary proceeding before the circuit court. So when the label all that occurred in the magistrate court and the decision that was taken by the magistrate and the court on the circuit court judge to reverse the magistrate court judge ruling and grant unto them every and all relief that the evidence will be suppressed and every property or whatever property will be turned over to the defendant. So that hearing was done, and on that basis, the judge ruled, and he also upheld the magistrate ruling on grounds that they were not also timely, and that whatever filing the court to do should be done before the circuit court, because you not know this case is before in the preliminary stage. They have not gone to full trial. So the preliminary stage is intended to determine whether or not there's a case and whether or not the defendant actually committed the act that they are being alleged against. So when they had the claims and the conduct claims, and that was how the circuit court judge recently really ruled, he upheld the magistrate court judge ruling, and he sent them back with a minute to the magistrate court judge to proceed with the hearing. That is the reading of the ruling. So on today, the judge is supposed to read the circuit court judge minute to the parties. But then when we came this morning, we made another document that the defense team have gone before the justice chamber, on us read of January. So January is wherein you want a judge review a decision taken by a lower court judge and say basically rescind that decision. So they went before the justice, and the justice had to place on stay order on the parties for the conference on tomorrow. But to the best of my knowledge, tomorrow it won't hold, because currently tomorrow the Supreme Court will be having the admittance of councillors at law at the Supreme Court bar. So we are hoping to see what it will hold. But tomorrow the conference is scheduled to go through the petition that have been presented to the justice in chamber.
Now, to make us understand, we who do not have the legal, education or background, in all of what you said, in simple English, the defense didn't object to the evidence that was being adduced by the prosecution until the last minute during their closing arguments, and then they told the judge to suppress the evidence, and the judge said I was late for that. They should have challenged.
Yes. So from the start to the end, they were in court. They had heard all of the different argument. They all the different evidence represented to them as well, and they got a proceeding wherein you have to testify to this evidence. You have to confirm the evidence, and then people mark and place in the file as file evidence for the proceeding. So that was done in our presence without objecting to it or throughout the process. But the last day of the final argument, wherein the judge who was ruled in this matter, was when they filed a motion that they should suppress the evidence. So the judge ruled and said, no, it is not timely because you sat and listened to all of the different evidence that were adduced and you did not object it, like you concord with all that was presented all throughout. Now you have reached this point before you want to say we should suppress it and present property of the defendant. We cannot deal with that as it is not timely.
So now this rate of certiorari that has been prayed for by the defense, you said that tomorrow the conference might not just hold because there will be admittance to the bar tomorrow. But what is the defense counsel or counsel saying? Have you spoken to any of them concerning why they didn't object and what are their chances of getting this rate prayed for?
So according to one of them who I spoke to off record, they were like, since the circuit court judge said that though our objection was that timely, so we should file it before him, because you now know after the matter is being ruled in for the magisterial court, if the defendants are found guilty for the preliminary angle, they will have to go to the circuit court, where in this entire matter will start in a full-fledged. So the magisterial
court. I want us to get something straight. At the magisterial court, it's all about whether or not there is enough probable cause to proceed to the circuit court.
Exactly.
Okay, so it is not to be found guilty, but it's to establish that there is enough evidence and there is enough prima facie, or there's prima facie to go to.
Or a crime was committed.
Okay, so that is what
yes.
that is what they were doing at the magisterial
court. Exactly.
Okay, so
exactly.
Proceed, sir.
So
proceed.
they are not going through.
I don't want to say guilty because nobody has been found guilty yet.
No, not yet. The magisterial court judge having ruled in this matter.
Okay. So
if he do rule, then he will tell us whether or not there's a case, whether or not there's a crime was committed to who is defendant coming of the charges that were levied against them. So when he's completed with that, then the matter will move down to the circuit court, where the entire case will start, because there where it is the court that has jurisdiction over the entire matter.
Okay. All right.
Yes. So as I was saying, the circuit court, they said since the circuit court judge said that though they were they did file this motion at the wrong time, or at the time that the trial was coming to a conclusion, they should go them and file it before him, because the way it will land at the end. So they said no, since the circuit court judge can say that they still got some grounds that this can be suppressed. This is why they went to the Supreme Court.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that is just the latest development in that particular matter.
Exactly.
All right. So we're waiting for them to go to the conference whenever which day it will be called for by the Supreme Court of Liberia. And after the conference, there will be a ruling from the justice in chamber, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Any other interesting story there from the courts that you want to share with us apart from the arson case?
Yeah. So, sometime last week we reported on the issue of the persistent non-support by the former Judiciary material lawmaker Stevie Bashir. This matter, the complainant came to us, and she had a whole lot to explain that this former lawmaker, he has allegedly refused to support his child. She doesn't know why. He always wanted custody of the child, and the woman said no. The law does not require that you get the custody of the child. Or I'm still in a position to allocate it to my child, but all that he was expected to pay, that is the delivery fees, which is the rent, the tuition, and the feeding, But what he does many times, as alleged by all, is when the mom is, he go instead of 150, he will pay $50. Instead of 800, he will pay 200. Instead of so he had paid from last year, January up to present, even as we speak, according to her, they got rent that is due to be paid, and that's why she came out of court. And every time they went, all the places she went, the people will all be like, that may not be me, we got nowhere to carry him. According to what he said, that may not be me, we got nowhere to carry him, and the matter, you're not getting anything good for it. That is why she's been hearing from police stations. So, other places she been going to see redress. That's why she been told.
So my question is, who is this former representative, and what was the remedy granted by the court to this petitioner?
So normally what the court does is when you come with such matter like persistent loss of court, the court will definitely call the next party and they will ascertain to know how much this person is making in terms of salary. So if you are a high salary earner, the court will have to divide this money into two. That is, you have to be responsible for the child tuition, you'll be responsible for the child resident or wherever they will be living, you'll be responsible for the feeding. So they calculate everything that he needed to pay. It came around 1,900. So that's what they could the money do. In that case, that you will do a stipulations. That is, every month you are to pay this amount. That amount you are not paying it directly to the woman or the complainant, but rather to the court, and the court will be on the call the complainant to say this is what the person brought, for your support. So that is just the process. Whenever a person comes on, or persistent support is.
So to be able to establish persistent non-support, is it that they had a previous agreement or a ruling from a court stipulating what should be done by this former lawmaker, and he's now been living up to those stipulations?
No, it's just a charge by itself. So it's not like you have default from another court and then they put you in a type of breach, No.
Okay, so there was no previous stipulation. So what arrangement?
Not satisfied.
Yeah, my question is, what arrangement when you spoke to the petitioner or the plaintiff? What arrangement did they have before that this former representative was not living up to?
So the arrangement is you have to pay $150 every month for feeding. You have to pay $850 for tuition.
Every month?
You add the school now, the school I was because I don't know why they completely told me child is so tell.
Okay. And you pay $850 per year.
Yes.
Okay.
You have to pay $950 and $900 for rent.
Is the $900 for a month or for an entire year?
The rent,
yeah,
entire year.
So the $900 is for the rent for entire year.
For the entire year.
Okay, so 900 divided by 12 will put it at roughly 75. But let me do my math. So 900 divided by 12. Yeah, that's $75 a month.
Exactly.
Okay.
So they go to calculate everything and give you the sum total.
Okay. So the feeding is $150 times 12.
No, per month.
And $150 per month times 12 months to make 1 year.
Yes.
So 1,008 plus 900 for rent plus 850 for school fee. So everything at 3,550.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right.
So that was agreed upon because it was done in the defendant president. So it's that's when they will do it in your arsenal. There's something that you guys do. You have a lawyer representative. They completely have that lawyer representative. You guys will go back and forth along with the court and whatever. And it will be agreed upon that yes, this is it. I can make it. So when one is, you are not going to the woman, but rather you carry it to the court because the matter is not before you and the court. the complaints only then and go receive whatever support that they have to receive. That's all.
All right. And did she say how long now since this former representative stopped, taking care of his responsibility?
So she said since last January, she has not become full with full payment. That is, if the 150 he's supposed to pay for the feedings, when more aims, he will pay like $50.
Mm.
In 800, when more aims, he will pay, or like 400, 300. She was not with the wife of Figibor. That is how he pay the wife of support in paid pieces. And they, according to Paul, since I think December, November, he has electrically failed to meet up with the payment.
Okay, before we wrap up on this matter, what remedy now has been provided by the court in settling this particular matter? Because a minor is involved in all of this, and the well-being of that child is also pivotal.
So this when the court issue what we call the content of code. So the content is you are breach and fail to live up to what you agree to. So in our case, the content charge will come. So the content charge can, if you do ahead to the content charge, they come before the court. Either he will have to appeal for a new stipulation to be made, or the court might take a decision to either say the pressing or whatever way the court want to proceed. But right now, this is why the court issue the content charge.
And since that time, have they made any contact with this former representative? And if they've had any sort of, if he's made any sort of appearance before the court since that contempt charge was issued?
So that was one thing that prompted all coming to the media on the hall, because whenever the court officers or whoever go out with this contempt charge, they always find it difficult to get access to the former lawmaker.
And who's this former lawmaker? Because the document from the court is public record. Who is this former representative, Melvin Jackson?
He represented district number 3 in most of the country.
I say where he represented. I say who?
CB Bachir.
Oh, you asking me? I asking you, like you cover the court.
So he's the founder and proprietor of the Bachir University.
Oh, okay.
Yes, he's the founder and proprietor and owner of several other businesses. So, but he's the founder that I know that was big. The Bachir University along the Coconut Factory route. He's the founder and CEO of that institution.
All right, I just have one more question concerning this particular matter, because when it comes to means, the means is there, but the will is seemingly what is not there.
So I think that's the issue.
Did she speak to why the will is not there, and why is it? If she's got any reasons, she heard any reasons why the former lawmaker would not want to live up to his parental responsibilities?
We reported, we sent him messages, we called him.
No, I'm talking about the plaintiff now. Did she say if she got any reason why he's not living up to his responsibility?
So the plaintiff do allege that before the election period, that's the October election, the defendant sent her some message that if she needs money for a child, he can pay for the child and have the child onto him. That was the message sent to her. So she was like, according to her, she cannot sell her child because probably he wanted to use her child for alleged ritualistic purpose. According to her, that was what she said. So since the election, he had been that kind of dangling on the support of the child.
Okay,
so her own belief, conclusion, whatever now, is because she did not agree that he paid for this child, that he would do whatever he wanted to do, and now that he lost the election, that's why he don't want to support the child.
Okay. How
Yes.
old is this child in question?
9 years old child.
9
A
years.
male child.
Okay. For a male. 9
Yes,
years
a
old.
male child.
Okay.
Damo, before you leave, you getting me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so the police on today forwarded the court the defendant who allegedly killed this coconut seller in the front area, 140 Kamini. So he was forwarded the court today. I think the training on the social media when he went to request for a change. The middle coconut seller or the disease try all means to give him a change, but he could not. And I don't know what he was talking about or intentional. They said in the charge sheet, they said he said to him, it's like you have taken Kuje. That was what happened to his uncle. And then he went and took the left on the wheelbarrow and allegedly stabbed him to death. So he will be forwarded to court today, and he will be sent at the Memorial Central Prison.
Wow. So he allegedly murdered someone over change.
Yeah, $30 change. We got the coconut is $70.
Wow. And because the deceased reportedly said a little you take cushion, so that's what prompted his angry rage, and he allegedly stabbed this guy and killed him.
Exactly.
Okay, Melvin. Thank you. And don't be caught in persistent non-support. Melvin Jackson there is our judicial correspondent, speaking to a series of legal issues there at the Temple of Justice. We will be following up, as we have been doing, the case of the capital arson. The latest development is the defense has now filed for a writ of certiorari to the Supreme Court of Liberia after their motion to suppress evidence, was denied by the magistrate at the Monrovia City Court, a ruling that was upheld by the Circuit Court. And now they're seeking legal redress at the Supreme Court of Liberia. We will be following up on that. Remember, the evidence adduced by the prosecution is key to their case. And if the Supreme Court, grants that motion and says the evidence should be suppressed on grounds that they were allegedly illegally gotten, and by any other means the defense feels it's not legal, then that is going to be a blow to the state's case. But if from the justice in chamber, the ruling of the circuit court is upheld, then the state has still got the option of going to the full bench of the Supreme Court. But whatever the case is, we will be following up on that as well. All right, so the latest in the NOCAL saga, we were scheduled to play host to Boakai Jaliba, the vice president for administration at NOCAL, but we're getting mixed signals and it's almost 1:30, right? But the latest in the NOCAL saga is that the vice presidents of NOCAL have been called, invited. I don't want to use called. Let me use the proper word. Have been invited by the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission, the LACC, to provide information pertaining to the ongoing investigation. What were their roles and the rest? So an official statement says the vice presidents and other senior officers or management staff have been invited by LACC to assist with an investigation by providing statements on their respective roles. So remember, the president CEO of NOCAL, Madam Rostalyn Swakoko Dennis, was suspended by President Boakai after a board resolution was passed, and based on allegations of administrative and financial malpractice there at NOCAL, and the investigation is ongoing. We all do know what is unfolding. The investigation is still ongoing, but there have been claims. Though NOCAL came up with a statement, I'll read a NOCAL statement and then we'll go to the claims. But there have been claims that Madam Swakoko Dennis didn't act alone and it's not going to go down alone. That when you haul rope, rope will haul bush. You know how we say in Liberia, you haul rope, rope will haul bush. But NOCAL was quick to issue a statement that reads, NOCAL refutes misinformation regarding vehicle purchases and LACC investigations. That was dated yesterday, the 16th day of February 2025. It reads, the management of the National Oil Company of Liberia, NOCAL, wishes to categorically refute the false and inaccurate claims circulating on social media that it purchased vehicles for 55,000 United States dollars each for its vice presidents, supposedly exceeding the national budget threshold of 45,000. NOCAL clarifies that these allegations are factually inaccurate and baseless, with the intent to misinform the general public. We want to state unequivocally that the cost of the Kia Seltos motor vehicles assigned to vice presidents is 32,500 each. This is well below the established government of Liberia threshold. This information can be independently verified with the authorized Kia dealership in Monrovia, where you can visit their showroom located at 18th Street and Totman Boulevard. At no point did NOCAL pay 55,000 United States dollars for a single vehicle for any vice president. NOCAL would like to address the erroneous claim that the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission has confirmed that all vice presidents of NOCAL were involved in the alleged financial mismanagement of the company. This assertion is not only misleading, but also factually incorrect. The LACC is currently conducting investigations, and it is vital to note that they have not made any concluding statements regarding the involvement or guilt of any individuals, including our vice presidents. To suggest otherwise is premature and unfounded. We urge the public and media to refrain from spreading misinformation that can harm the reputation of individuals and the integrity of our institution. NOCAL remains committed to transparency and accountability in all its operations and will continue cooperating with the LACC in its investigation. While we appreciate the public's concern regarding the inner workings of government operations, we urge the public to be cautious against the spread of misinformation by certain public members. Well, that is from the National Oil Company of Liberia yesterday. Today, as stated by one of the lines in this press statement, the investigation is ongoing. The LACC invited vice presidents of NOCAL and other senior management staff to come and make statements and state their roles in all of what has unfolded at our company that led to the president suspending its president CEO, Madam Rostolin Swakoko Dennis. How does NOCAL function? Does the president CEO unilaterally sign financial vouchers and allot financial appropriations to herself? Who is responsible to sign for purchases and financial transactions at the National Oil Company? With the established GOL regulation and budget regulations that 45,000 is the threshold for vehicles, who signed the 75,000 for a single vehicle? What are the roles and involvement of the various vice presidents? Administration, operations, finance and investment. What roles did they play? What roles were also played by these vice presidents and other senior management staff in the awardings of contracts? Did Swakoko Dennis act on her own? These are pivotal questions. Did she act independently? Are there records of objections, queries, and other internal protocols that were followed by vice presidents in their objections to things that were being done? How did they do it? Was the board involved? If where the resolution of a board and the approval of the board is needed, was all that followed? These are questions the LACC will ask, and backed by evidence to determine who all is culpable in what happened at NOCAL. What are the internal protocols for these agreements? Where are the objections, if there were any? What are the financial protocols at NOCAL for expenditure? Who makes allotments and who signs for allotments? Who all were party to the purchasing and the awardings of contracts? And this is why it is important that these vice presidents be invited by the LACC. The letter from the president mentioned the administration of NOCAL. From this interview and to whether or not the LACC is going to determine that, look, as per your statement and pieces of evidence provided, we would need a second or third interview with you, or we are looking at your culpability. There are others who are saying everybody who occupied a position of influence from president, CEO to vice president should be suspended until this investigation is done, because they have the propensity to play with evidence or to tamper with evidence. And there are others who are saying that, look, how is it possible that Rostolin Swakoko Dennis will look at all of the protocols and all of the objections, if there were any, and still unilaterally carry out decisions at NOCAL? So there are a lot of unanswered questions, and it's good that folks have been invited to go and make statements and provide evidence to their roles and involvement. Because no institution runs itself. No institution does not have rules and procedures. Every institution has. And it is crucial that clarity is made. If one person is being accused of buying 75,000 or using 75,000 and the treasury is 45,000, NOCAL has said, LACC hasn't said that its vice presidents breached the law by buying 55,000 vehicles, rather those vehicles are 35,000 United States dollars. Investigating thoroughly is the bedrock for any other further action. The debate is looming and is lingering as to whether everybody who occupied the presidential to the vice presidential positions should have been suspended pending investigation. That they all had some role until it can be proven that they did not have a role as per their TORs. They should have been involved in whatever decisions are made at the National Oil Company of Liberia. So going to the LACC today is a commendable step by the anti-graft institution. As to what will be next is what Liberians are looking at. As to whether if you haul rope will haul bush, or one person is not going down, I'm going to take everybody down. and I'm going to show how everybody else was involved. Since we want to fight corruption, we should fight it holistically. All those questions will be answered as per what will be the next step from the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission. Whichever side of the divide you find yourself, whether you are for blanket suspension until everybody can clear themselves so that the integrity of the investigation is not compromised, or you are for Swakoko Dennis was the one highlighted. She was the head of the institution, and as head of this institution, she must bear the brunt of it. She must be suspended, and the investigation should be carried out. Whatever your take is, at the end of the day, Liberians will all agree that we want to know which roles were played by each individual at the helm of authority at NOCAL. And we want to know whether or not Madam Swakoko Dennis acted on her own in all of these instances. And if that is the case, what are the solutions for this not to occur again? But bottom line is, investigation is ongoing and we are following. All right, folks, sadly, we have to leave you at this point. It's been a wonderful interaction for all those of you that have been watching and been listening. It's been a wonderful, wonderful interaction. We'll be back here on Wednesday due to scheduling problems, and we're sorting that out. We will be coming on Monday and Wednesday until we can make further arrangements for Tuesday and Thursday. That has got to be attributed to scheduling problems, and we'll see how best we can, sort all that out. But before going, we are now going to move to our domestic relations law of Liberia and continue our series. But I've got a very, very important announcement to make here on the show. When I got this message, I couldn't help but to agree to make this particular announcement. All right. So a man by the name of Momo David, who stays in Washington, D.C., the United States of America, is trying to locate his childhood friend. It reminds me of a radio program that used to be on the radio in Liberia some years back. I can't remember the name of that program, but people who were displaced and people who were trying to connect with their friends and their family members, their names would be mentioned on the radio, where they were found, their father's name, their mother's names, and the rest. You remember that program, right? I've just forgotten the name, but it used to be on radio, especially during the night hours. Yeah, and it helped to connect a lot of families with their relatives that were missing or that they lost contact with during the civil crisis here in Liberia. So when Momo David reached out to me, I obliged immediately to read this particular announcement, and I'll do it until we can get a result. But Sumo is looking for his childhood friend. The name of his childhood friend is Rose Dagose. Rose Dagose. If you know Rose Dagose, they both used to attend the Ellen Mills Scarborough Junior High School in the 80s. And Rose Dagose has got a brother whose name is Jusu. They used to live in Bangetown, Sincor, and were attending the Ellen Mills Scarborough Junior High School in the 80s. So Momo David is looking for his childhood friend. He wants to reconnect with Rose Dagose. So if you know Rose Dagose, or you know a family member of Rose Dagose who used to live in Bangetown in the 80s, and she's got a brother whose name is Jusu, all you need to do is to contact me on this number. Let's put them in touch. It's very heartwarming that someone will want to reconnect with their friend from the 80s and is still thinking about this person and have tried, so many times and has been unsuccessful. So the name of the person is Rose Dagose. Sumo Mobile is looking for Rose Dagose. She used to live Bangor Town in the 80s, attended the Ellen Mills, let me get the name of the school right, Ellen Mills Scarborough Junior High School, and has a brother by the name of Jusu. So if you know any information concerning Rose Nagose, who attended the Ellen Mills Scarborough School, lived in the Bangor Town during the 80s, and has a brother by the name of Jusu, please call me on this number if you got any information so that we can help put them in contact. So my number you can call me on, remember, you can call me on this number quickly during the course of when you have information so that we can put them in contact. It's very important when people reach out and they need us to assist. We need to do these things. It's good that Sumo Mobile is trying to reconnect with his childhood friend. All right, so you can call me on this number, 055 95 3709, 055 95 3709. So you can call me on that number if you have information, and the information that will lead to us locating Rose Dagose. All right. So someone says the show used to be called Family Contact. All right. All right, but I remember the show. I just can't remember the name, but I remember how the format used to be. They would say Diamond Slanger. Diamond Slanger. Diamond Slanger was found on Buduburam refugee camp. Diamond's father name is Mr. XYZ Slanger. His mother name is Madam XYZ Slanger. And he used to live XYZ place. And that's how it used to be. And people were able to locate their family members. So it's mini family contact that I'm doing here. All right, let's now wrap up quickly by going over our domestic relations law of Liberia. Let's now go over that to continue our series. And we had a case involving domestic relations, involving allegedly a former representative. So this issue of knowing what our law says when it comes to the roles of family members and parents is very important. Hence, we've brought this series here on your radio so that you can get some knowledge. Remember, when you go before the law, ignorance is no excuse. So we started off our series with what is marriage. We will not be doing the lengthy recap today. We'll just continue. So we started off with what is marriage. We also went through what the marriageable age is in Liberia. We also went through subsection 2.3, who may not marry in our country. That is where we start. So today we continue with subsection 2.4 of the Domestic Relations Law of Liberia that deals with marriage license by whom issued, residence, and requirements. Yeah. Remember, we started off by saying that marriage is a civil contract, and we're talking about the civil status marriage, not the traditional marriage. We're talking about the civil status marriage where you get a marriage license and where is protected by the civil laws of the Republic of Liberia as well as the criminal laws of our country. What you need to do, what constitutes a proper marriage as well. So today we'll be dealing with marriage license by whom issued, residence requirements as well. Subsection 2.4. No person shall be joined in marriage until a license has been obtained for that purpose from the registrar of marriages of the county, territory, or charter district in which one of the parties has resided for at least 30 days immediately prior to making application therefor. When one of such persons is a non-resident of the county, territory, or charter district where such license is to issue, his part of the application may be completed and sworn to or affirmed before the registrar of marriages of that county, territory, or charter district in which he resides. If both parties be non-residents of the Republic, however, such license may be obtained from the registrar of marriages of the county, territory, or charter district where the marriage ceremony is to be performed. Now, we all do know that having a marriage certificate is one of the preconditions for your marriage to be deemed legal. That's one. The second one is the person who presides over your wedding ceremony, your marriage. That person must be a licensed cleric or an inducted judge. Not every pastor can preside over your wedding. Not every imam can preside over your wedding. If that pastor is not ordained and that ordination has got a documentation to it, the person, if they solemnize your wedding, that wedding is deemed null and void. You can look at one prayer woman in the community who is not an ordained and certified preacher or cleric, and the person presides over your wedding. If you go to court and somebody wants divorce and it challenges that and says, by virtue of the fact that this person, not even, an ordained pastor, they are church board, not even ordained them, or they are denomination, not even ordained them, they're not known officially as a pastor, that's a ground that you didn't satisfy all of the rules. So the marriage will be deemed null and void. If you get married and you don't have a marriage certificate, the civil status marriage, you just sign a certificate, but it is not taken to the archive, it's not filed, you don't have your return copy and everything, you don't fulfill the legal requirements, that free, that vla. When one partner wants to get out of the marriage, they can cite that and say, oh, but me, you're not even married legally because we're not getting no certificate, you just married me, but up to now we get a certificate, not filed, I didn't take it to the archive, so we're not married. So these are things you should look out for. But what we are today, we're talking about how can you get a marriage license? If both of you or one of you reside within the county where you want to get married, you will go and get the license from there. And you should be in that area for not less than 30 days. So meaning not less than a month, you should be living in that place before you apply. So for example, you go to Bong County, that where you want to get married, that where you want to get your license from, and you haven't lived in Bong for over 30 or not less than 30 days, you cannot be given a marriage license. If the decentralization process is really working, you cannot get a license from there. If you reside outside, both of you must sign a sworn affidavit, a sworn document, before a license can be given. The reason for this is simple, but many people will not take it into consideration. When you apply for the marriage license, it's not just given like that. Due diligence must be done by the registrar of the marriage or the registrar of the certificate, but they can call the registrar of the marriage. They have to go check in the archive, check in the record. Remember, it's a crime to be married twice. Marriage is between a couple, two persons at a time. You can't be married and you can't marry another person. So they have to go and check in the record to make sure that Joy married someone else or Marina married someone else. And that is why you are told to register and get your license in where you reside, where both of you reside. So that if the person is married in a place, you will know. The records will be there. The man will not tell you from Grand G there, When he married and keeping a woman away, a certificate and license were issued, then he come Monrovia here. In 2 weeks, time, he marry you quick. Because the record can be found here. That is when we can get these cases that, oh, the man married on the other side, he got married on the other side, or the woman was married so, she was married so. Because the records are not compiled in one central database. And that is why we need to work on as a country to make sure that all records are digital and can be accessed from one point to the other. When you have scattered records about, people can cheat the system. If the filing process is digitalized, and once you put diamond slanger, it alarms, he married. So, oh no. But if you don't reside in a place for not less than 30 days and you go and get a license and you marry, it may lead to the act of bigamy. So the law was crafted in a way to provide people with time to be able to do their due diligence. So I'll go over it one more time before we wrap up for today. It says, no person shall be joined in marriage until a license has been obtained for that purpose from the registrar of marriages of the county, territory, or charter district in which one of the two parties has resided for at least 30 days immediately prior to making the application thereof. So even when you make your application for marriage certificate, it has to take not less than a month. And you cannot be married without a marriage license. That's the first part is telling you. So start asking your husband. Start asking your wife. That you're ping ping pom pom, 16 bridesmaid, 13, 16 groom men. Start asking, say, where the marriage certificate, where the license? That means the thing with son, you carry to the archive, you filed everything, where our copy and everything, so I can see it to make sure that yes, indeed, it's protected by law. For those of you who want to get married, when you're making your application, note that you cannot leave where you are residing with before 30 days to go marry in different place, to go get a certificate from different place. Don't mistake it that you cannot have the ceremony somewhere else. You can have the ceremony somewhere else. But the marriage certificate or the marriage license must be gotten from where you reside. When you make the application, you must apply where you reside, not later than 30 days. So yes, I know somebody will ask, but I won't go get married in Ganta. I let it place. Can I get my marriage license from Montserrado County? I fill in all the legal requirements, get my license, and go marry in Nimba in Ganta with son and paper. I bring it back to Monrovia. Yes. You apply for the license in Monrovia, where you reside, in Montserrado, where you reside, or where one party or both parties reside. And you can take that and go do your ceremony in Ganta, and you will still have to bring it back to Montserrado, having signed to file it at the marriage registrar of Montserrado County. It further states that when one of such persons is a non-resident of the county, territory, or charter district where such a license is to be issued, his part of the application may be completed and sworn or to be affirmed before the registrar of marriage of that county, territory, or charter district in where he resides. So if I live in, I'll be wrapping up just now. If I live in Granjide and my partner lives in Montserrado and we want to get married, I will fill out my application in Granjide at the registrar of marriage there, because that is where, similarly by law, my records will be. So if I'm married, it will show. So if both partners don't reside less than 30 days in the same area and you want to apply for a license, your partner who lives in another county or another territory will fill their marriage form in that county. They will be cleared in that county. You that live in the other county, you will fill your own form in that county, and you will be cleared in that county where you reside. Not to say, oh, my man come to my own place, can I fill a form yet? The man might not be married in where you stay, but he might be married where he stays. So it's education for us, information for us to know. And not just, you have to swear and affirm before them register a marriage of your place that you're not married. But if both of you are non-residents of the Republic, that is, you are non-residents of Liberia, you just can't visit. You will obtain your marriage license from the county, the territory, or charter district where the marriage ceremony is to be performed. So it's for non-residents. All right, folks, that's all the information I have to share with you. I'll be back on Wednesday. As I said, due to scheduling problems, and we're trying to sort that out. I cannot be available on Tuesday. I'm working all modalities to make sure the show continues throughout the week. Till we talk again, have for yourselves a wonderful day. And I hope this show has been able to provide to you not just information, but education as well. It's been a pleasure being here in your company. My name is Diamond Slanger. On behalf of the entire production team, it's a bye-bye. And have for yourselves a wonderful time. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you.